The Kirshar vessel emerged from the darkness of space, its biometallic hull reflecting the dim light of Earth's young sun. Commander Zalren stood at the observation deck, her four eyes scanning the pristine blue planet below. Unlike the dying world they had left behind, this one teemed with potential. Oceans abundant with primitive life, land masses untouched by intelligent species, and an atmosphere rich with oxygen. "Environmental analysis complete," announced Science Officer Maltek, his translucent fingers dancing across holographic displays. "The planet is in its cooling phase. Large reptilian species dominate, but our models predict their extinction within the next orbital cycle. Smaller mammals are evolving rapidly." Zalren nodded, her scaled skin shimmering under the artificial light. "The Council chose well. This world will be our sanctuary." The mission had been debated for generations on their home planet, Kirshara, a dying world orbiting a fading star. Their civilization had mastered interstellar travel, genetic engineering, and planetary terraforming, but they could not save their own world. The only option was exodus, finding and cultivating a new home among the stars. "Landing sequence initiated," the ship's AI announced, its voice echoing through the command chamber. "Prepare for atmospheric entry." The massive colony ship, carrying 10,000 Kirsharians in stasis and the genetic material of millions more, began its descent toward the northern continent. As they breached the atmosphere, Zalren felt a sensation she hadn't experienced in decades. Hope. "We will build here," she declared to her assembled command team. "Not just outposts or settlements, but the foundations of a new Kirshar. Our descendants will thrive on this world long after we are gone." The ship landed in a verdant valley nestled between mountain ranges. When the external sensors activated, they revealed a landscape teeming with life forms unlike anything on Kirshara. Massive ferns swaying in the breeze, flying reptiles soaring overhead, and small furry creatures scurrying through the underbrush. "Begin the awakening sequence," Zalren ordered. "Priority 1 personnel only. The terraforming teams must start immediately." Over the following months, the Kirsharians established their first settlement. Biodomes rose from the valley floor, connected by translucent tunnels. Terraforming machinery was deployed, analyzing soil samples, cataloging indigenous species, and preparing for the grand transformation. Chief Engineer Torlak approached Zalren with concern etched on his face. "Commander, we've discovered an anomaly. The indigenous life forms on this planet share a surprising genetic compatibility with our own." "Explain," she demanded. "The basic building blocks, what these creatures would call DNA, operate on principles remarkably similar to our own genetic structure. It's as if..." He hesitated. "As if what, Torlak?" "As if we were meant to come here. As if our biology and this planet's were designed to be compatible." Zalren dismissed the engineer's mystical interpretation, but the data was intriguing. "This simplifies our work. Adjust the terraforming protocols accordingly." The real challenge emerged when the geological surveys revealed a critical problem. The planet's crust was unstable. Massive tectonic movements threatened any permanent surface structures. "We cannot build on the surface," Torlak concluded during an emergency council meeting. "Not if we want our civilization to endure." Zalren stared at the holographic globe rotating before them. "Then we build beneath it. And within it." The plan was audacious. Create subterranean cities connected by a network of tunnels spanning the entire northern continent. On the surface, they would engineer modified plants and simple organisms that would eventually transform the atmosphere to better suit Kirsharian biology. As the first underground chamber was excavated, Maltek made another discovery. "Commander, we've detected unusual energy patterns emanating from the planet's core. It appears to be a naturally occurring energy source unlike anything on Kirshara. Can we harness it?" Zalren asked. "Theoretically, yes. This could power our civilization for millennia." The discovery accelerated their plans. Using this new energy source, they constructed magnificent underground cities with vaulted ceilings that simulated their home-world skies. They engineered plants that could grow without sunlight and animals that could thrive in their subterranean ecosystem. 1 year after their arrival, the first true Kirsharian city was completed, Zalkara, named after its visionary commander. As the remaining colonists awakened from stasis, they marveled at what had been accomplished. Yet not all were pleased with the direction of their new civilization. Lead geneticist Venra challenged Zalren during a council meeting. "We're changing too much, too quickly. The indigenous life of this world deserves study, not replacement." "We aren't replacing it," Zalren countered. "We're enhancing it, guiding its evolution." The council's directive was clear: make this world our own. "At what cost?" Venra demanded. "We fled Kirshara because we destroyed its natural balance. Are we to repeat that mistake here?" The debate divided the colonists. Some sided with Zalren's vision of a transformed world reminiscent of their home planet. Others aligned with Venra, advocating for a more conservative approach that would preserve Earth's unique ecosystems. As tensions mounted, a catastrophic event forced both factions to reconsider their positions. A massive asteroid entered the planet's atmosphere, striking the southern continent with devastating force. The impact sent shockwaves across the globe, darkening skies with ash and debris. From their subterranean sanctuary, the Kirsharians watched as surface temperatures plummeted. The reptilian species that had dominated the planet began dying en masse, unable to adapt to the sudden climate change. Zalren gathered the council once more. "This changes everything," she said gravely. "Our surface operations are compromised. We must focus entirely on our underground civilization until the planet recovers." "And the indigenous species?" Venra asked. "We save what we can," Zalren decided. "Preserve genetic samples of everything. Some species will survive this catastrophe. The smaller, more adaptable ones, we will monitor their evolution." And so the Kirsharians retreated deeper beneath the Earth's surface, their magnificent cities hidden from the devastation above. As the years passed, they watched through remote sensors as a new world order emerged from the ashes of extinction. The age of reptiles was ending. The age of mammals had begun, and beneath the surface, the Kirsharians continued to build, to plan, and to wonder about their place in this world's future. 5 million years passed since the Kirsharians' arrival on Earth. Their subterranean civilization had flourished, expanding across vast underground networks spanning continents. The original colonists were long gone, their descendants having adapted to life beneath the Earth's surface. Their eyes grew larger to capture sparse light, their skin paler, and their technology more integrated with the planet's natural energy field. In the Grand Council chamber of New Kirshara, the largest underground city, Elder Tasven addressed the assembled leaders. Holographic displays showed the dramatically changed surface world, lush forests where barren plains once existed, new mountain ranges formed by tectonic shifts, and oceans teeming with evolved life forms. "The surface has stabilized," Tasven announced. "The extinction event that drove our ancestors underground has transformed this world. The dominant reptilian species are gone, replaced by countless mammalian forms adapting to every environment." Chief Scientist Kormal, a direct descendant of Maltek, stepped forward. "Our monitoring stations report the most significant development yet, proto-primates showing early signs of advanced cognition. They use simple tools, communicate with basic vocalizations, and form social structures." The council chamber filled with murmurs. This development had been anticipated by their ancestors, but was unfolding faster than predicted. "What does this mean for the restoration plan?" asked Defense Minister Lirzan, referring to the ancient protocol established by Zalren to eventually reclaim the surface. Tasven's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of contemplation among modern Kirsharians. "It complicates matters. Our ancestors believed we would return to a world where we would be the only intelligent species. That assumption may no longer be valid. The restoration plan had evolved over millennia. Originally conceived as a simple return to the surface, it had become increasingly complex as the Kirsharians themselves changed. Many now questioned whether they could even survive on the surface, given their physiological adaptations to subterranean life. "Perhaps," suggested Kormal, "we should consider a new approach. Instead of reclaiming the surface for ourselves, we guide these emerging species, shape them as our ancestors shaped this world's biosphere." The proposal was controversial. The Kirsharian ethical code, refined over millions of years, prohibited direct interference with natural evolution, yet they had already altered this world significantly through their initial terraforming efforts. "We will observe first," Tasven decided. Establish surface outposts disguised and hidden. Study these proto-primates more closely before making any decisions. The observation outposts were constructed in remote regions, hidden within mountain caves, beneath shallow lakes, and inside dense forests. Teams of scientists, many leaving the underground cities for the first time in their lives, ventured to the surface wearing protective suits designed to shield them from the unfamiliar solar radiation. What they discovered fascinated them. The proto-primates were developing faster than any models had predicted, forming increasingly complex social structures and improving their tool-making abilities with each generation. They have potential, reported field researcher Ven Lara after 6 months of observation. Their brains are developing neural pathways similar to our own. They possess curiosity, problem-solving abilities, and rudimentary emotional intelligence. Kormal brought these findings to the council. We face a choice: remain hidden and allow these creatures to develop naturally, potentially for millions of years, or accelerate their evolution. We could have companions on this world within a mere 1,000 generations. The debate raged for years. The isolationists argued for continued separation, fearing contamination of their pure Kirsharian culture. The integrationists saw potential in guided evolution, creating a species that could bridge the gap between the underground Kirsharians and the surface world. Meanwhile, a third faction emerged, calling themselves the Ascendants. Led by the charismatic Zorvek, they proposed abandoning Earth entirely. "Our ancestors came here as a temporary measure," Zorvek proclaimed in public addresses that attracted growing crowds. "They built these cities as shelters, not eternal homes. Our destiny lies among the stars, not buried beneath the soil of an adopted world." The Ascendants gained support by revealing that the generation ships that brought their ancestors to Earth had not been dismantled as commonly believed. They had been hidden, maintained by a secret order across millennia, ready to once again carry the Kirsharians to a new world. As political divisions deepened, Tazven made a fateful decision. "We will pursue all paths simultaneously," she announced. "The isolationists will maintain our underground civilization. The integrationists will establish deeper connections with the surface dwellers, and the ascendants will prepare for their journey to the stars." This compromise prevented immediate conflict, but set the Kirsharians on 3 divergent evolutionary paths. The integrationists, led by Kormal, established the first experimental outpost designed for prolonged surface interaction. Located in a fertile valley nestled between mountains, they built structures using local materials, stone, wood, and clay, that mimicked the architectural principles of their underground cities while blending with the natural environment. From this outpost, they made their first direct contact with the proto-primates. The initial encounters were carefully managed, brief appearances, gift-giving of simple tools, and demonstrations of fire-making. The Kirsharians were seen by the primitive hominids as mysterious, powerful entities, not quite gods, but something beyond their comprehension. "They're learning from us," Kormal noted with pride, as he watched a group of proto-primates successfully replicate a stone tool demonstrated days earlier. Their imitation skills are remarkable. Over the next several thousand years, these interactions continued, always limited and controlled. The Kirsharians never revealed their true nature or the existence of their underground civilization. Instead, they positioned themselves as guides, occasionally appearing to demonstrate new technologies or techniques before retreating to their hidden outposts. The isolationists, meanwhile, delved deeper into the Earth, constructing new cities further removed from the surface. They focused on perfecting their own society, developing technologies that required no surface resources, and creating a self-contained ecosystem entirely independent from the world above. The Ascendants faced the greatest challenges. Restoring the ancient generation ships proved more difficult than anticipated. Much of the original technology had degraded beyond repair, forcing them to reverse engineer systems based on historical records. Nevertheless, they persisted, driven by Zorvek's compelling vision of a new Kirsharian world among distant stars. As the surface-dwelling proto-primates evolved into early humans, the integrationists made a crucial discovery. By analyzing genetic samples collected over thousands of years, they detected traces of Kirsharian DNA within the human genome. Kormal brought this disturbing finding to Tazven, who had remained neutral between the 3 factions. "There has been interbreeding," he explained. Despite our protocols and safeguards, some integrationists must have produced offspring with the surface dwellers. How widespread is this genetic transfer? Tasven asked. Minimal but present in approximately 8% of the population we've sampled. It appears to have enhanced their cognitive development, accelerating their evolution. This revelation forced a re-evaluation of their relationship with the surface world. The Kirsharians were no longer merely observers or guides. They were, in some small but significant way, ancestors to this emerging species. Tasven called an emergency session of the Grand Council, inviting leaders from all three factions. Our path forward must account for this new reality, she declared. These humans carry our genetic legacy. We bear responsibility for their development. The council session lasted weeks, with passionate arguments from all sides. Eventually, a new consensus emerged. The integrationists would continue their work, but with stricter protocols preventing further genetic contamination. The isolationists would maintain their separation, but provide technological support to the integrationists. The ascendants would proceed with their preparations for departure, but share all knowledge gained with the other factions. As the last ice age gripped the planet, human development accelerated dramatically. They mastered fire, created increasingly sophisticated tools, and began forming larger social groups. The Kirsharians watched with a mixture of pride and concern as these creatures, now carrying fragments of their own genetic code, took their first steps towards civilization. In a private meeting with Kormal, now aged and nearing the end of his life, Tasven confessed her deepest fear. We came to this world seeking sanctuary, but we may have created our own replacement. If these humans continue to evolve at their current rate, how long before they discover us? Kormal had no answer, but as he looked at the holographic display showing a group of humans constructing a permanent settlement, he felt an unmistakable sense of pride. Whatever happened next, the Kirsharians had left an indelible mark on this world, a legacy that would continue long after they were gone. The early human civilizations arose like sudden blooms across Earth's fertile regions, Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and along China's Yellow River. To the watching Kirsharians, this development was both fascinating and alarming. What had taken their own species millions of years of evolution was being accomplished by humans in mere thousands. In the observation center beneath the Zagros Mountains, Nevrin, great-granddaughter of Kormal and now chief integration specialist, monitored the rapid growth of Sumerian cities. They've developed writing systems, she reported to the current Elder Council. Primitive pictographs are evolving into more abstract symbols. They're recording trade transactions, religious practices, and even creating narrative literature. Elder Dimsar, leader of the now dominant integrationist faction, studied the holographic reconstructions of Uruk, the largest human city. Their architectural skills have advanced considerably. They're using mud bricks to construct city walls, temples, and irrigation systems. And their metallurgy? Asked Sub-Elder Peltav. Copper and bronze working, Nevrin replied. They're beginning to extract and smelt ore, creating tools far superior to stone implements. The council chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. At their current rate of development, humans would achieve in 5,000 years what had taken Kirsharians 50,000. The genetic enhancements, accidental though they were, had created a species with extraordinary adaptive capabilities and creative potential. We must make a decision, Dimsar finally said. Our ancestors have guided these humans from the shadows for millennia. The question before us now is, do we reveal ourselves? The debate was the most consequential, since the three factions split millions of years earlier. The Ascendants had departed Earth 2,000 years prior, taking a third of the Kirsharian population to seek a new homeworld among the stars. The remaining Kirsharians were divided between the integrationists who maintained surface outposts and the isolationists who had retreated to the deepest city, New Kirshara Prime. Revelation would violate our most sacred protocols, argued Torven, representative of the diminished but still influential isolationist faction. We have observed without direct interference for millions of years. That is not entirely accurate, countered Nevrin. Our ancestors shaped these humans in subtle but profound ways. The megalithic structures they're building across the planet, from Göbekli Tepe to the early ziggurats, follow architectural principles taught by our integrationist teams. She displayed holographic images of these structures, highlighting features that clearly reflected Kirsharian design elements: precise astronomical alignments, acoustic properties that amplified sound in specific frequencies, and construction techniques that maximized structural stability. "These are not coincidences," she continued. "Humans are implementing knowledge we provided. Though they've forgotten the source, they attribute these inspirations to their gods." This last point resonated with the council. Archaeological data had revealed that many human deities bore striking resemblances to Kirsharians, beings with multiple eyes, elongated heads, and skin described as shimmering like fish scales. "Perhaps that is our answer," suggested Dimsar. "Not full revelation, but controlled reintroduction through their existing belief systems. We present ourselves not as aliens or predecessors, but as the entities they already worship." The plan was approved despite isolationist objections. Specialized integrationist teams were dispatched to key human civilizations, equipped with technology that would appear miraculous to Bronze Age humans, and trained in the specific religious languages and customs of each region. The first controlled contact occurred in Sumer, where Nevrin herself led the mission. Disguised with ceremonial attire that accentuated their Kirsharian features, her team appeared before the high priests of Uruk during a celestial alignment ceremony. "We are the Anunnaki, returned from the heavens," she proclaimed in fluent Sumerian, using the local name for their sky deities. "We have watched your progress and deem you worthy of greater knowledge." The effect was precisely as anticipated. The priests prostrated themselves, offering worship and sacrifices. Over subsequent months, Nevrin's team provided the Sumerians with advanced mathematical concepts, improved agricultural techniques, and more efficient methods for bronze production, all carefully calibrated to accelerate human development without causing cultural shock. Similar contacts were established in Egypt as the Neteru, in the Indus Valley as the Deva, and along the Yellow River as the Shangdi. In each region, the Kirsharians were received as returning gods, their teachings eagerly absorbed and implemented. For nearly 1,000 years, this arrangement functioned as intended. Human civilizations advanced rapidly, developing increasingly complex social structures, technologies, and philosophical systems. The Kirsharians maintained their divine personas, appearing periodically to introduce new concepts, then retreating to their hidden outposts to observe the results. However, an unforeseen consequence emerged. As human populations grew and their technologies improved, they began to discover evidence of the ancient Kirsharian surface structures built millions of years earlier. Megalithic ruins, artifacts made from materials unknown to Bronze Age metallurgy, and fossilized remains of engineered plants raised questions that the gods were increasingly unable to answer within the frameworks of human religious understanding. In the council chambers beneath the Caucasus Mountains, now the central coordination point for all surface activities, Dimsar faced a growing crisis. "The controlled revelation strategy is failing," he admitted. "Humans are developing scientific curiosity. They're questioning the mythological explanations we've provided. We should withdraw completely," Torvin urged. "Return to New Kirshara Prime and seal all surface access points. Let humans develop independently," as the Ascendants argued before their departure. "It's too late for that," Nevrin countered. "We've integrated too deeply into their civilizations. Our sudden disappearance would create a vacuum, potentially leading to cultural collapse or religious wars." The situation deteriorated further when a group of Egyptian scholars combining astronomical observations with ancient texts calculated that the gods appeared on a predictable schedule rather than divinely chosen moments. This discovery spread to other civilizations, prompting coordinated efforts to document and analyze the activities of these supposedly supernatural beings. Faced with this crisis, Dimsar proposed a radical solution: full revelation. Not as gods, but as what we truly are. Predecessors who arrived on this planet before humans evolved, who have lived beneath the surface for millions of years and who share a distant genetic connection with humanity. The council was divided. Full revelation risked panic, religious upheaval, and potentially violence against Kirsharians. Yet continuing the divine charade seemed increasingly untenable as human scientific understanding advanced. "There is a third option," suggested Maltev, a young strategist recently elevated to the council. Strategic obscuration. His plan was audacious. Engineer a series of natural disasters and conflicts that would disrupt the most advanced human civilizations, setting back their development without destroying them completely. During the resulting Dark Age, the Kersharians would withdraw from direct contact, erasing most evidence of their existence and planting false information to misdirect future archaeological discoveries. This buys us time, Maltev explained. A few thousand years during which we can prepare for either eventual revelation or permanent separation. Despite moral objections, the Council approved the plan with a narrow majority. Over the next century, carefully engineered climate shifts caused droughts in key agricultural regions. Volcanic eruptions were triggered near major population centers. Trade routes were disrupted by orchestrated tribal migrations. And in a final act that would echo through human history, the Kersharians introduced specific diseases targeting the most scientifically advanced human populations. The Bronze Age collapse followed, with once great civilizations falling into disarray. Writing systems were forgotten, technologies lost, and the memory of the gods transformed into increasingly distorted myths. The Kersharians withdrew to their underground realm, sealing most surface access points and destroying their outposts. Only Nevrin and a small team remained on the surface, disguised as humans and tasked with monitoring the aftermath of their intervention. They watched as surviving humans struggled to rebuild, preserving fragments of knowledge in oral traditions that became increasingly divorced from their original context. In the deepest chamber of New Kershara Prime, Dimsar stood before the full assembly of their remaining population. "We have purchased time, but at a terrible ethical cost," he acknowledged. "Our ancestors came to this world seeking sanctuary, and instead became its secret shapers. We have guided human development, shared our genetic legacy, and now deliberately impeded their progress." He activated a holographic display showing the current state of Earth's surface, collapsed cities, abandoned irrigation systems, and displaced populations struggling to survive. "This cannot be our legacy," he continued. "Therefore, I propose the Great Divergence. Half of our population will remain here, maintaining our civilization beneath the surface. The other half will depart on the remaining generation ships, following the ascendance path to the stars. When humans eventually discover us, and they will, let them find only a fragment of who we were, not the entirety of our power." The assembly approved the proposal. As preparations began for this final division of their species, Dimsar received an unexpected communication from Nevrin on the surface. "You need to see this," she transmitted. "Something unexpected is happening among the humans." The holographic feed showed a small group of survivors in what had once been Athens. Unlike the desperate refugees scattered across the collapsed civilizations, these humans had gathered in a circle, engaging in what appeared to be structured dialogue. "They're philosophers," Nevrin explained, questioning the nature of existence, the structure of the cosmos, the foundations of knowledge. Even amid the collapse we engineered, their intellectual curiosity survives. They're asking the same questions our ancestors asked when they first looked to the stars. Dimsar watched in silence as these primitive yet profound beings debated concepts that Kersharians had explored millions of years earlier. In that moment, he understood that regardless of what path the Kersharians chose next, humanity would eventually find its way forward, perhaps to the stars, perhaps to discover their hidden predecessors beneath their feet, or perhaps to something entirely new that even the Kersharians had never imagined. "Monitor them," he instructed Nevrin, "but do not interfere again. Their path must now be their own." As the Great Divergence commenced and the generation ships prepared for their interstellar journey, Dimsar added a final entry to the ancestral records that had been maintained since Commander Zalren first set foot on Earth. "We came to this world as refugees and became its architects. We shaped its biosphere and guided its dominant species. Now we must accept that our role in Earth's story is changing. Half of us will journey to the stars, continuing the path of the ascendants. Half will remain hidden beneath the surface, watching as humans forge their own destiny. Whether they eventually surpass us or destroy themselves remains to be seen, but they carry fragments of our legacy in their very cells, a connection that transcends our separate evolutionary paths. Whatever becomes of Earth, the Kersharians will endure, among the stars, beneath the ground, and in the genetic heritage of humanity itself." 10,000 years passed since the Great Divergence. The human world above had transformed dramatically, rising from the ashes of the Bronze Age collapse, passing through classical antiquity, the Middle Ages, and into the modern era. Cities of glass and steel reached toward the sky, electronic communications encircled the globe, and the first tentative steps into space exploration had begun. Deep beneath the Earth's surface, the Kirsharian civilization had continued its own evolution. New Kirshara Prime, now simply called the Core, had become a marvel of bio-integrated technology. The remaining Kirsharians, numbering fewer than 1 million, had adopted a policy of minimal surface monitoring and absolute non-interference after the ethical crisis triggered by the Bronze Age intervention. Elder Council leader Zalvaris, a direct descendant of Dim-Sar, stood in the ancestral chamber reviewing the latest surface reports. The monitoring system, disguised within human communications networks and surveillance satellites, provided a constant stream of information about the species that unknowingly shared their planet. "They're advancing faster than ever," noted Sub-Elder Corfen. "Their computational systems now approach Tier 3 capabilities. Their understanding of quantum mechanics and genetic engineering is rudimentary, but progressing rapidly." Zalvaris nodded, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence, a gesture that had remained unchanged in Kirsharian culture for millions of years, despite their other evolutionary adaptations. "And their detection capabilities?" "Concerning," Corfen admitted. "Their ground-penetrating radar systems can now reach depths of several kilometers. They've mapped approximately 8% of our outermost transit tunnels, though they've misidentified them as natural cave systems or geological anomalies. How long until discovery becomes inevitable?" Corfen projected a holographic model showing the convergence of human technological development and the depth of Kirsharian structures. "Conservative estimate, 70 years. Accelerated estimate, considering their current rate of innovation, 35 years. The chamber fell silent. After millions of years of successful concealment, the possibility of discovery now loomed within a single Kirsharian lifetime. "We must prepare for contact," Zalvaris finally declared, "not initiated by us but on their terms when they eventually find us." The preparation process began immediately. The Council established a contact preparation committee tasked with studying human cultural, political, and psychological patterns to develop optimal first contact protocols. They analyzed thousands of human fictional scenarios involving the discovery of alien life, noting the recurring themes of fear, wonder, and the struggle between cooperative and competitive responses. Meanwhile, a more radical faction emerged within Kirsharian society. Calling themselves the New Ascendants, they advocated for complete abandonment of Earth before discovery occurred. Led by the charismatic Venlor, they proposed using their remaining resources to construct interstellar vessels similar to those that carried their ancestors away during the Great Divergence. "The original Ascendants were right," Venlor proclaimed in public forums. "This world belongs to humans now. We should leave them to their destiny and seek our own among the stars, perhaps reuniting with our long-lost kin." This proposition gained support, particularly among younger Kirsharians. However, practical obstacles were substantial. The technology for interstellar travel had been partially lost during the millennia of isolation, and the energy requirements for constructing new vessels would compromise the sustainability of the core. As this internal debate continued, human activity accelerated the timeline for potential discovery. A multinational research project called the Deep Earth Exploration Initiative deployed advanced seismic imaging technology to map the planet's interior in unprecedented detail. Their initial goal was scientific understanding and resource discovery, but their sensors detected anomalies that couldn't be explained by natural geological processes. In the observation center, Mal Ren, chief of human monitoring, brought urgent news to the Council. "The humans have detected the outer chamber of ancient Outpost 7 beneath what they call the Carpathian Mountains. Their preliminary data suggests artificial construction. They're planning a physical expedition within 6 months." The Council convened an emergency session. The timeline had compressed from decades to months. They faced a critical decision: attempt to obscure the discovery through technological interference, prepare for immediate first contact, or accelerate the New Ascendant's departure plan. After intense deliberation, Zalvaris made an unprecedented proposal: We will divide our response as we divided our species. The main population will remain in the core, implementing contact protocols if discovery occurs. A smaller group will proceed with the new ascendance plan, preserving our civilization beyond Earth, regardless of the outcome here. The Council approved this dual approach. Resources were allocated to both preparing for potential contact and constructing a single interstellar vessel capable of carrying 5,000 Kirsharians, enough genetic diversity to establish a new colony if they could locate the descendants of the original ascendants. Months passed as humans progressed with their Deep Earth exploration initiative. The Kirsharians monitored their communications, tracking their growing excitement as more anomalous readings emerged from multiple locations around the planet. Ancient outposts, transit tunnels, and resource extraction sites, all abandoned millennia ago, were appearing on their scans as inexplicable structures far older than any known human civilization. In academic circles, theories proliferated. Some suggested an unknown prehistoric human civilization with advanced technology. Others proposed natural formations that merely appeared artificial. A few fringe theorists suggested extraterrestrial origins, though this remained a minority view given the lack of evidence for space travel. The expedition to Ancient Outpost 7 was launched with tremendous scientific fanfare, a joint effort between European, American, and Asian research institutions. Using advanced drilling technology, they created a shaft directly toward the anomalous structure detected by their sensors. In the core, the Kirsharians watched through remote monitoring systems as humans breached the outer seal of the outpost, a facility abandoned after the Bronze Age intervention. Inside, the expedition team discovered artifacts unmistakably artificial, yet clearly non-human in design. Control interfaces designed for beings with different physiological configurations, writing in the ancient Kirsharian script, and preserved biological samples showing non-terrestrial cellular structures. First contact has effectively occurred, Zalvaris announced to the Council as they watched the humans document their findings. They don't yet realize we still exist, but they now have irrefutable evidence that we were here. The human world erupted with the news. Religious institutions struggled to incorporate this revelation into their theological frameworks. Governments held emergency sessions to discuss security implications. Scientific organizations raced to analyze the artifacts recovered from the outpost. Most significantly, the discovery triggered a global effort to locate other potential structures. Using the distinctive signatures identified at Ancient Outpost 7, researchers began detecting similar anomalies worldwide. Within weeks, they had mapped dozens of abandoned Kirsharian facilities, creating the first rough outline of their ancient surface network. In the core, the Contact Preparation Committee accelerated its work, developing protocols for various scenarios: accidental discovery during further excavations, deliberate attempts at communication by humans, or worst-case military responses if humans perceived them as a threat. The new ascendants, meanwhile, pushed their departure timeline forward. The interstellar vessel, named Continuance, was nearing completion in a massive chamber beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Its propulsion system, adapted from ancient designs preserved in the Kirsharian archives, would harness the planet's magnetic field for initial acceleration before transitioning to the quantum displacement drive that would carry them to the nearest habitable star system. As these parallel preparations continued, a breakthrough occurred that neither the Kirsharians nor humans had anticipated. A young archaeolinguist named Dr. Maya Chen, analyzing symbols from Ancient Outpost 7, recognized patterns similar to recurring motifs in early Sumerian, Egyptian, and Indus Valley scripts. Her hypothesis was revolutionary. The ancient gods of human mythology weren't merely inspired by encounters with Kirsharians, they were Kirsharians. In a landmark academic paper that spread globally within days, Dr. Chen connected archaeological evidence with mythological accounts, demonstrating that the sudden advances in human civilization during the Bronze Age coincided with patterns of activity at the newly discovered underground structures. Most importantly, she hypothesized that these beings might still exist beneath the Earth's surface. If they possessed technology advanced enough for interstellar travel millions of years ago, she wrote, they could certainly have created sustainable subterranean habitats. We may not be alone on our own planet. Her paper polarized the scientific community, but captured the public imagination. citizen science groups began analyzing satellite imagery and publicly available geological data, looking for patterns that might indicate current Kircharian activity. Government agencies, initially dismissive, began quiet investigations of their own. In the core, Zalvaris called an urgent session of the Elder Council. "This Chen has connected too many pieces," she said gravely. "Human discovery of our current civilization is now inevitable within months, possibly weeks. We must decide, do we initiate contact on our terms or wait for them to find us?" After intense debate, the council made their decision. They would send a single representative to the surface, someone who could pass as human while establishing initial diplomatic contact. The goal would be controlling the narrative of first contact, presenting the Kircharians as peaceful predecessors rather than potential threats or conquerors. Nevkor, a specialist in human culture and biology, was selected for the mission. After genetic and surgical modifications to appear human, he would approach Dr. Chen directly with evidence of current Kircharian civilization, offering himself as an intermediary between the two species. Meanwhile, the discovery process accelerated beyond their predictions. A team of independent researchers, following Dr. Chen's methodologies, identified energy signatures beneath the Gobi Desert, consistent with active technology rather than archaeological remnants. When their findings were published online, the site was quickly secured by Chinese military forces, who began excavation operations. "We have lost control of the timeline," Mal Ren reported to the council. "The Chinese excavation will reach Transit Hub 9 within days. This is a currently maintained facility with active security systems." Zalvaris made an immediate executive decision. "Accelerate Nevkor's mission. He must make contact before the Chinese breach our security perimeter. Simultaneously, prepare a delegation to meet the Chinese expedition when they break through. We cannot risk hostile first contact." As these urgent plans unfolded, the new ascendants faced their own crisis. The continuance vessel was operational, but not fully provisioned for interstellar travel. Venlor argued for immediate departure, accepting the risk of reduced supplies in exchange for avoiding potential conflict with humans. "The history of their species demonstrates a consistent pattern," he warned. "When faced with the unknown, a significant percentage reacts with fear and aggression. We cannot risk our entire civilization on the hope that humans have evolved beyond this tendency." In a controversial decision, Zalvaris authorized the continuance to launch early, carrying 3,000 volunteers instead of the planned 5,000. "Go," she told Venlor during the departure ceremony. "Find our ancestral kin among the stars if they still exist. Preserve our knowledge, our culture, our very essence. If relations with humans prove peaceful, we will send coordinates for you to return. If not, you will be the future of our species." The continuance departed from its underwater launch bay, rising through the Atlantic before accelerating beyond Earth's atmosphere. Its departure masked as an unidentified meteorological phenomenon by Kircharian technology, though several human observatories recorded anomalous readings. With the ascendants gone, the remaining Kircharians focused entirely on managing the imminent first contact. Nevkor successfully infiltrated human society, establishing an identity as a research assistant interested in Dr. Chen's work. Over several weeks, he gained her trust before finally revealing small pieces of evidence suggesting current Kircharian activity. Simultaneously, the Chinese excavation reached the outer chambers of Transit Hub 9. As their drilling equipment breached the final barrier, they were met not by ancient artifacts, but by a delegation of Kircharians led by Elder Tormal, who had volunteered for this dangerous mission. "We come in peace," Tormal announced in Mandarin, having studied human languages for decades. "We have lived beneath your feet for millions of years. We were here before humanity evolved, and now we wish to establish peaceful relations between our civilizations." The Chinese expedition's footage of the encounter leaked despite government efforts to contain it. Within hours, the world knew an advanced non-human civilization existed beneath the Earth's surface. The revelation triggered global responses, ranging from religious revival to financial panic to military mobilization. In Washington, D.C., Dr. Chen received a secure government summons. Upon arrival, she was shocked to find her research assistant revealed as Nevkor, now serving as a cultural liaison between human authorities and the Kirsharian civilization. "Why me?" she asked him during a quiet moment between tense diplomatic meetings. "Because you saw us as we truly are," he replied, "not as invaders or gods or monsters, but as travelers who found sanctuary on this world long before your species walked upright. You understood that our histories are intertwined in ways neither of our peoples fully comprehend." Over the following months, formal diplomatic relations were established between human nations and the core. Initial fear gradually gave way to cautious cooperation as the Kirsharians shared limited technological and medical knowledge, particularly in areas beneficial to Earth's deteriorating environment. The revelation that humans carried traces of Kirsharian DNA, the result of ancient interbreeding during the guided evolution period, sparked both scientific fascination and religious controversy. Some human groups embraced the Kirsharians as long-lost ancestors, while others rejected them as corrupting influences on human purity. 1 year after first contact, Zalvaris addressed a special session of the United Nations, the first elder, to appear publicly before a human assembly. Her appearance, 4 reflective eyes, iridescent scaled skin, and elongated skull, caused visible discomfort among some delegates, despite months of preparation through images and videos. "We share this planet with you," she began, her voice translated through devices developed jointly by human and Kirsharian scientists, not as rulers or subjects, but as fellow travelers through time and space. "Our civilizations have developed separately, yet remain connected through shared history and biology. The question before us now is whether we can forge a common future." She revealed that the Kirsharians had received their first transmission from the continuance vessel, now beyond the solar system. "Even as we build connections with you, we maintain our bond with the stars. Perhaps someday humans and Kirsharians might journey together to meet our departed kin." As she spoke, astronomers at observatories around the world detected an anomalous signal from deep space, directional, structured, and unmistakably artificial. Analysis revealed that it originated from a star system 16 light-years distant. The message, when decoded by joint human-Kirsharian teams, was profound in its implications. "To the children of Kirshara and Earth, from the descendants of the first ascension. We have waited for your signal. The stars welcome you both." The transmission confirmed what some had theorized, but none had proven. The original ascendants who departed Earth millions of years earlier had successfully established colonies among the stars. Moreover, they had maintained observation of their ancestral world, waiting for the moment when both their Kirsharian siblings and the evolving human species reached sufficient technological advancement for interstellar communication. In the core, Zalvaris addressed her people with a mixture of hope and caution. "We stand at the convergence of 3 paths, our own beneath the Earth, humanity's upon its surface, and our kin's among the stars. Each civilization has evolved separately, yet all trace their origins to this single world. What comes next will require wisdom greater than our ancestors possessed when they first arrived on this planet." On the surface, Dr. Chen and Nevkor led a new joint scientific initiative focused on developing sustainable interstellar travel technology. Their team, equal parts human and Kirsharian, represented the first truly collaborative project between the species. "Do you think we'll succeed?" Chen asked her non-human colleague as they reviewed propulsion designs. "Not just in building this vessel, but in creating a lasting peace between our kinds." Nevkor considered the question, his 4 eyes blinking in the deliberative sequence of his people. "Our ancestors came to Earth seeking sanctuary and found a home. Yours evolved from primitive mammals into beings capable of questioning their place in the cosmos. Both journeys required overcoming tremendous obstacles." He gestured toward the star map displaying the source of the distant transmission. "If our separate paths could converge after millions of years of parallel evolution, perhaps that suggests something profound about the nature of intelligent life, that despite our differences, we are drawn toward connection." As night fell over the research facility, humans and Kirsharians continued their work side by side, representatives of civilizations separated by millions of years of evolution, yet united by a shared planet, and now a common purpose. Above them, the stars beckoned, home to their distant kin and possibly other intelligent species awaiting discovery. The conversation that began when the first Kirsharian vessel emerged from the darkness of space, carrying refugees from a dying world, had come full circle. Earth, once merely a sanctuary for extraterrestrial visitors, had produced its own intelligent species who now stood ready to join their predecessors on a journey beyond their shared home. Before humanity walked the Earth, the alien architects had built the first civilizations. Now humans and Kirsharians would build the next chapter together, not as gods and worshippers, not as predecessors and successors, but as fellow travelers in the vast cosmic story that had brought them to this moment of convergence. In the depths of the core, Zalvaris added a final entry to the ancestral records begun by Commander Zalren millions of years earlier. The circle closes, the spiral continues, from one world to many, from separation to unity. The journey of our kind enters its next great phase, no longer alone, but in communion with the children of Earth, who carry our legacy in ways we never anticipated. Whatever awaits us among the stars, we go forward together. Thank you for reading this story. If you enjoyed Before Humanity Walked the Earth, the alien architects who built the first civilizations, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more engaging stories like this one. I'm curious, what part of the world are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below. Your support helps this channel continue creating immersive multi-chapter stories that blend science fiction with thought-provoking concepts.